And hopefully all those people are on. I think at least most of them are. I've seen at least 3 of them are on for sure. I'm not sure about the 4th, but so first Courtney Koenig is going to present, and she's with Kansas Department of Health. She'll present an update on the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. And then we'll have, hopefully we'll have a speaker from the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. Oh, there she is. Sarah's here. Great. Thank you, Sarah, for coming on just to help me feel assured. So Sarah is going to be talking with NSAC here after KDHE. So thanks so much, Sarah, for joining. And then we'll have Wichita State University. Michelle DeHaven will be speaking on some local food systems related things that they have going as well at the Wichita State University Environmental Finance Center. Then we have the Mid-Continent Public Library with Xander Winkle. We'll be talking about a food business conference. There's Xander. Great. Thanks, Xander. So we'll be having an update from him on a food business conference that we held back in March in Olathe. So we'll get to hear from him. So that'll be our 5-minute updates from each of our different speakers. Then we'll, as we do every other quarter that we've been doing this, we will have our time of open discussion about grants. So in those of you that have been on before, you may recall that K-State Extension got a regional food systems partnership grant, or program grant, sorry. So we'll give an update on that. And then if anyone else has anything they'd like to share about grants that they have going or are planning on applying for and you need input on, please jump in with that as well. Then we'll have a time of announcements, and I see there's been some announcements put in the chat already, which is great. Appreciate that. So we'll and hopefully we'll have time to talk a little bit more about other announcements too. So and then we'll share our evaluation at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here to make sure that we have time to get to all our speakers, and hopefully we'll have time for questions for the speakers. We'll try to keep it to 5 minutes per speaker. And then if we have, we'll try to make sure that we have some extra time after all the 5-minute presentations are done for each of the speakers for you to ask questions of them. So Courtney Koenig, I believe you are on. Courtney, are you on and ready to present?
I am. And
there she is. Perfect.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
So, Courtney, there you go. So Courtney, go ahead and take it away.
Hey, all right. Yeah. So my name's
Courtney. I can't hear you, Courtney, and Erin says she can't either. Can anybody else hear Courtney?
I hear her fine.
We can
hear.
I can hear.
Oh, my volume is down.
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Better? Good. Okay. Well, again, my name is Courtney Koenig. I'm the Physical Activity and Nutrition Program Manager at KDHE, and I also administer the Kansas Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. Assuming that most of you are somewhat familiar with the program, Londa wanted me to give some updates on what's happening with the program this year. So I don't have any slides. It's just me talking. We've operated the KSFMNP out of KDHE for 17 years now. Just a quick reminder, this program serves low-income seniors by providing resources to purchase fresh and locally grown fruits, vegetables, cut herbs, and honey from authorized farmers at farmers markets. And this year brings some really exciting opportunities for us. So we were able to secure some additional funding. This is funding that came down through the American Rescue Plan. And this funding will assist us in serving more seniors across our 61 county distribution area. This allowed us to increase the senior benefit from to the $50 maximum allowable amount. That's the USDA maximum allowable amount. And we'll also be able to do some targeted advertising for the program. We had an addition of 2 new local agencies to distribute coupon benefits. This is the Midway Extension District, which covers Russell and Ellsworth County, and the Kickapoo Tribe in Kansas in Brown County. So we'll have some additional spaces that will be filled for that. To aid seniors in locating the local agency that services the area which they live, We've also introduced an interactive map on our website that you can search by your address, your county, your zip code, and then it'll bring you to that local agency. It kind of blows the map up, and I'll put the links to that in the chat here in a minute. So that brings that senior to the information and directions for that local agency. Look at that. Thanks, Clara. The last big change is we're transitioning away from utilizing the traditional banking system to a digital coupon redemption model. So farmers will have the option to redeem their coupons either in real time at the market or at home with a smartphone app that scans and submits the coupons for payment. And those who choose not to use that system, those farmers can still mail in the coupons for processing. So we have a handful of those who will choose that option. So we're really excited for these new changes, and we know there's going to be some challenges, and as we make this transition, but I really, there's just been so many people and partners, including many of you on the call today, who've really stepped in and helped us with just disseminating that information to seniors and farmers and helping with promotion. And we are so grateful for that. There's still some things that need to fall in place, but they are coming. Got some confirmation on some of those just this week. So our start date for the program is June 1st, 2023. Just the way things are going, that'll probably be a softer start date than I'd really like, but still okay. I mean, produce isn't as readily available at the markets on that June 1st date anyway. So everything should be really good to go by July 1st, and should be on both the farmer and the senior side. So those are my updates. And I don't know if we're doing questions now or questions at the end, but happy to answer any of those.
Great, thank you. Sorry, we're working on the technical issues with 3 of us sitting in one conference room. Sorry about that. And my computer was still muted, and so I didn't realize my volume was muted, so I didn't hear you. Sorry. So yes, if we have a few minutes we can take a minute or so of questions. So if anybody has a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask, or you can type it in the chat, whichever you're more comfortable with. But if anybody has a question, go ahead and ask Courtney.
You able to get your volume up, or should I turn it if you mute it?
All right, great. It looks like there's not any questions at the moment. So we'll, if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat to Courtney. And Courtney, are you going to be able to stay on the rest of the call? Or okay, great. Oh, yeah. Perfect. There came a question right now, Courtney. Is the application process still the same? And I don't know if you can, go ahead.
Yeah, application process is still the same. The senior would go to the local agency. Sometimes it depends on that local agency's process. Sometimes they'll mail them out to the senior. So I always encourage them to call first to know what that local agency would like them to do. So they fill out the form. In most cases, they self-identify income and age, and the local agency verifies for their processes, and then they get the benefits that they can spend at the market.
All right, thank you very much, Courtney. Appreciate it. And thanks, Susan, for your question. Appreciate that. Great. Thank you. Yes. So thanks so much, Courtney, for your presentation, and thanks for all the great information. I know that's helpful information. I've said this before in other meetings, I feel like it takes all of us to keep getting that information out there. So if all of us can help partner to get the information out to the seniors as well as to the farmers, that's what will make the program successful. Is we really need both sides of the equation to be there to have seniors redeeming their vouchers, as well as the farmers that can use the program. So just appreciate everybody's efforts in sharing the information. And thanks, Courtney, for all your work in organizing. And I know there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. So appreciate that. So now I'm going to turn it over to our next speaker, and I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here. So I'm going to go, whoops, I went too far. So we're so excited to have today Sarah Hackney. I hope I said your name correctly. She's with the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. So we're super excited to have Sarah here today to share with us a little bit more about the Farm Bill and about how that impacts local food systems here in Kansas. So Sarah, I'll turn it over to you, and then I can advance your slides whenever you'd like me to.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Londa. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, we'll start with slide 1 then, and just back up 1, and I will just jump right in. Hi, folks. My name is Sarah Hackney. I am the Coalition Director for the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition based in Washington, D.C. Really happy to be here. I'm going to do my darndest to give you the quickest 5-minute update on where we are in the Farm Bill process and just a few highlights on its potential connections and impacts on local and regional food systems work for practitioners. Again, this will be really brief, and I would be delighted to follow up with a lot more resources and materials post-call. First, just a bit about NSAC for anyone unfamiliar with us. We're a Washington, D.C. based grassroots advocacy coalition. We work in Washington, D.C. on behalf of over 130 organizations nationwide. In Kansas, that includes the Kansas Rural Center and Cultivate KC. I should have put Cultivate KC folks on my slide. I see you all on the call. Hi, nice to see you all. Apologies for leaving you off the slide. KRC and Cultivate KC are awesome, and we work with them on the regular. Our job, again, is to help make sure organizations like their own and folks like you all have representation and a voice here in DC. So with that, let's talk Farm Bill for a few. Next slide, please. So for anyone who's brand new to the space or who just wants a quick refresher in what is this in the first place? In brief, the Farm Bill is a massive piece of federal legislation. It's a bill, and it contains policies, programs, and funding that really disproportionately shape our food and farm system. Everything from the rules around who may be eligible for a farm loan to funding for food assistance for low-income families, a whole bunch more. It's an extraordinarily big bill, and it is developed roughly every 5 years. This year, 2023, is the year in which it's up for what we call reauthorization, or in layman's terms, it's time to write a new one. And that work is underway here in Washington. Really importantly, when it is a Farm Bill year, as we call it, it's a really key opportunity to drive change. Every single time that Congress considers writing this new bill, it's a chance for us to tell them what's working well and what's not. And I'm sure, as you all full well know, there's plenty that's not necessarily working as well or as intended in the field. We'll talk a little bit more about that and a couple of local and regional food systems examples in just a few minutes. First, next slide. I want to get nerdy here for just a second for anybody, especially who may be new to Farm Bill work, and just explain again, what does it mean to be in the Farm Bill? So to offer you an example here, so the Farm Bill is divided into what are called titles. There are 12 of them. Think of them like the chapters of a book. For local and regional food systems work, the Farm Bill contains quite a lot of key language and funding that shapes how programs that you all use in the field look and feel in the everyday use. So that includes programs like the Farmers Market Promotion Program, the Local Food Promotion Program, and the Value Added Producer Program, also known as LAMP, that big bucket, Regional Food Enterprise Centers, and also programs like whole host of programs that directly help growers. I was trying to think of the food safety acronym, but whole host of programs that help farmers and communities access fresh, healthy food. The Farm Bill gives USDA the permission to run that program. It sets the amount of funding available, and it outlines key contours of the programs, their key purpose, who's eligible, any opportunity for prioritization. For example, if we're trying to prioritize rural communities, historically underserved communities, farmers of color, the Farm Bill can help us make those kinds of shifts and changes in the programs to help them better work and meet our needs. So as you can imagine, with that, if you've had any interaction with federally funded programs that shape local food systems, you probably have lots of opinions about how they can work better right now. So next slide, please. Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to talk for just a moment about the money and then the process, and then I'll close with a couple of local food systems examples and drop a few follow-up links for you. First, we won't go deep into this. This is also available on our website, but for those who are curious, it's helpful to contextualize the Farm Bill in terms of the money and where it's going. As you can see on this slide, and again, this is also available online, disproportionate sum total of the Farm Bill goes to nutrition assistance or food assistance programs, the SNAP program. 75+% of the bill is held within that really critical need that the Farm Bill plays. Right behind that, you're going to see conservation, crop insurance, and commodities. These are program areas that largely work with growers on the land. For example, that conservation spending helps folks invest in and implement practices like cover crops on their land for improved natural resource management. You see that teeny tiny slice that says other 1%, that's where everything else lives. All the research money, all the local food money, organics, equity provisions, a whole host of work all fits in this teensy tiny slice, 1% of the total funding. That's disproportionate impact on our work. Next slide, please. I want to talk just briefly about the process and Kansas's role, and then again, I'll close on a couple local food points. Anybody who's ever watched the classic Schoolhouse Rock video has probably seen a little bit of familiarity around, just in general, how does a bill become a law? This process that you see on your screen offers a very high level summary of the process. In short, the House and Senate both have an agriculture committee. That committee is going to draft its own version of the 2023 Farm Bill this year. So each committee drafts a totally different one. From there, each committee's bill is going to get slated for floor time, so consideration by the full House or the full Senate. Once, if and when each of those bills has been drafted, completed, passed off of the floor of their respective chamber, they're going to have two very different bills. They're going to have to combine them. They call that conference. So they're going to form a conference committee. They're going to develop what they call a conference report or a combined bill. That new combined bill has to go back to the House and Senate one more time for approval. And then if we can get that done, get that final bill approved and up and out, then it goes to the president's desk for his signature and becomes law and goes over to USDA to be implemented. Where we are in the process right now, we are the very first step. The House and Senate Ag committees are just beginning the work of drafting the bill, and they hold disproportionate power and say in what the bill looks like or in the original draft. So where we are in that means, because we're early in the process, there's still a lot of time to shape and influence the work. And it happens that Kansas has lawmakers on both of these committees. So you all have a bigger say than most other states in the original, in this initial stage of the work. I'll name those folks really quickly. So in the Senate, that's Senator Roger Marshall. He sits on the Senate Agriculture Committee. And on the House side, Representatives Tracy Mann and Sharice Davids, both representing Kansas, sit on the House Agriculture Committee. So if you're interested in having dialogue, sharing your experiences, talking about your experiences with Farm Bill programs or the needs that you see, those are really great folks to start with because they are actively at work right now on that bill and they have disproportionate say and influence over what makes it into the final package. Next slide. So I wanted to highlight just a couple of examples of the kinds of priorities we can tackle in the Farm Bill. And I recognize for the 5 minutes, this is pretty short and brief. So I want to give you just a couple of, I'll give you a couple bullets on the side, and I'll offer a local food example and a couple of follow-ups in the chat. So again, this is an every 5 years opportunity. We really want to seize it. We also recognize that it is a complex political environment right now. It is not easy to get legislation done. And so none of us expects to get a Farm Bill that answers every problem, that radically transforms everything, but we're going to push as much as we can to get as many changes in the positive direction as we can. When it comes to local food programs in particular, just in the last few weeks, you may have seen news or announcements around a bill called the Local Farms and Food Act. You might be thinking, well, weren't you talking about the Farm Bill? What's this other bill? So the Local Farms and Food Act is what's called a marker bill. It's a set of ideas for the Farm Bill focused on key local farm and food programs that's intended to build support and energy around including those changes in the Farm Bill. So you can look it up. I'll drop a link in the chat as well. But it contains reforms and improvements to those LAMP programs, the Gus Schumacher Nutrition Incentive Program, GusNIP, and the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, which I know is a key one for folks on this call. So that bill includes some key improvements, changes, increases in funding as asked for by folks in the field, and we're looking to build support for that bill in Congress. to that goal, that big picture goal that you see here on the list, particularly the second one around increasing funding and support for local food systems efforts. So if you're interested in learning more about that bill and asking Kansas lawmakers to support it, I'm glad to put some links in the chat after I'm completed here. And I also strongly encourage you to be in dialogue or partnership with the folks at Kansas Rural Center with Cultivate KC, because they have a relationship with us, and we really love to hear from folks in Kansas about where their needs are. So I'll wrap up there. I think I went a hair over my 5. Welcome any questions. And again, I can drop a few extra links in the chat in a few minutes.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. I think that was wonderful. I was chatting with the people in the room here. I said, boy, we could have given her an hour to talk. And I think that would have been helpful. But for me, that was super helpful. Does anybody have any quick questions for Sarah? And like she said, she's going to put some links in the chat, which we really appreciate, Sarah. If anybody has a quick question, go ahead, because I think this is a really great presentation and an important topic. I know a lot of things near and dear to my heart you talked about. So any quick questions? If not, we can keep moving too, but. All right, great. Thank you, Sarah. That was very helpful. I think for me, that was very helpful. So I think other people also probably hopefully felt the same way, that was really helpful. So thank you so much, Sarah. We really appreciate it. And if you do have questions for her, you can put them in the chat, and we'll try to have time for questions after all our presentations are done this morning. But thank you so much, Sarah. Appreciate it. Let's see. So our next speaker, boy, there we go. So the next speaker that we have today is Michelle DeHaven, and she's based here in Wichita State University with the Environmental Finance Center. So I am going to turn it over to Michelle.
Hey everybody, can you hear me okay?
Yep,
Awesome.
you're
Okay.
good.
I had to switch my settings around, so I wanted to make sure that they were right. Hi everybody, I'm Michelle DeHaven. I know some of you, for those of you who don't, I don't know, I'm a program manager with the Environmental Finance Center, Wichita State University. Next slide, please. If you're unfamiliar with environmental finance centers, we are one of 10 across the nation. So EPA divided the country into 10 different regions, each of them having their own environmental finance center. Many of them are located at universities. Some are at different entities, but most are at universities. And we're the EFC for Region 7, which is Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri. Also, just recently, we were selected to be the Water Infrastructure Center for the region, which seeks to help communities prepare and apply for water utility infrastructure funding. And just a couple weeks ago, it was announced that we were selected to serve as the Environmental Justice Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Center. Yes, that is a mouthful, where we will serve as a resource hub for the entire region to enhance environmental justice along a variety of topics, environmental topics, to enhance environmental justice and equity in the region. So really excited about that. Through these roles, we're able to work through a variety of environmental topics, such as solid waste management, which was where our food waste topics come into play, water and wastewater utilities, air quality, sustainability, climate, all that kind of fun stuff. So lots of cool things. Yes, thank you, Clara. Please be patient. We are in the process of updating our website and getting it to be a little bit easier to find those things, but yeah, it's there. Next slide, please. So food loss and waste is one of the many topics that I've worked on through the EFC over the last couple of years. And our focus when we start talking about food systems and the intersection of food loss and waste and hungry people, we really look at that EPA food recovery hierarchy. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this graphic. It is an ideal way to really think about how we can reduce food loss and waste in our communities by starting with that source reduction, and then realizing that there's always going to be excess food, and what is it that we can do with that excess food that keeps it out of the landfill. And next slide, please. So these are some of the projects we've worked on in the last couple of years. The first one is the local sustainable management of food summits. I know some of you attended a few of those that we had, and what those were was a way to bring together food system stakeholders in various communities across our 4-state region to come together to talk about the challenges that those communities are facing with reducing food loss and waste, and how we can make best use of excess food. So it brought people together. We had presenters and then we had breakout sessions where people could collaborate. And one of the biggest outcomes from that was it really connected a lot of people, not just inside of communities, but across our region to have conversations about what's working, what isn't, and what some of the next steps are for reducing food loss and waste and getting that excess food into the hands of people before it goes bad. Another project we worked on, some of you may be familiar with the City of Wichita Sedgwick County Food System Master Plan. We assisted with roundtables for that to really dig into discussions about food loss and waste and protecting natural resources, sustainable agriculture, those kinds of things in order to inform that master plan. And then I participated in the steering committee to develop the pilot program for the Healthy Corner Store Initiative for Wichita, that hopefully there'll be an RFA coming out soon for organizations to be able to apply to be the organization that will host and run that pilot project, which is really exciting because it's using some of the models that you may be aware of from around the country. Many of you are probably familiar with Canby's Market, so it's kind of something similar to that. We're looking at food deserts and areas that could really benefit from having healthy access to healthy food that can help not only reduce that food insecurity, but also increase the health of people in those areas. So those are just an overview of some of the things we've worked on. We're always looking for ways to partner, to coordinate, to collaborate, all of those things around these discussions, not just in food loss and waste, but food systems and building communities' capacity to be able to address some of these issues when it comes to food system challenges. Last slide, please. This is a quick rundown, and unfortunately, I am going to have to drop off right after this portion. But if you have any questions or would like any more information, feel free to reach out anytime. I'm always happy to talk about this topic. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Great work, and yeah, lots of good topics that you're covering, definitely. So thanks for being a good partner with us over the years too. So thank you, Michelle. And if you do have questions for her, her email address is there, and one of my colleagues might have already put it in the chat. Probably, yeah, great. So my very capable colleagues put it in the chat. So if you do want to reach out to her, please feel free to do that as well. So our last, oh, there it sparkles now. Okay, so our last presenter of for this section today is going to be Xander Winkle. He's with the Mid-Continent Public Library, and so I'll let him introduce himself, but he's another great partner that we've worked with over the years, and really excited to hear a recap of the food business conference that Xander was the leader of it. We held it at K-State Olathe in March, but he was really the leader of it. So Xander, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Londa, so much for the invite. Thank you, everybody, for giving me a chance to chat. And also, thank you all for all the great work that you do in this space. But yeah, I wanted to talk just real quick, a recap of the second annual Food Business Conference that we had at K-State Olathe that happened March 9th and 10th. And we had some magnificent partners who are also on this call right now: the KSU, MU Extensions, the KCIFT, the Innovation Center, Square One with the library, KC SourceLink. So what happened with this conference is we were able to bring together all of these fantastic resources for startup food businesses, primarily retail food businesses, food product manufacturers in the startup or concept stage. We wanted a one-stop shop over 2 days where they could get all the information that they would need to either make a decision on whether starting a food business was right for them, or if they have already started their food business, how can they be as successful as possible. I'll drop the link to our URL because some of those programs we were able to record our panel discussions. So if you wanted to check some of those out or share those with somebody that you are, one of the businesses maybe that you are working with, we've got those excellent discussions that we were able to record. So just some stats from the conference. Each day we had just under 70 guests attend. It was a grand total of 25 individual programs ranging from just basic 101, how do you start a food product and get it into grocery stores, to marketing and financial and all the different components of starting a food business, but with the specific lens and bringing in experts who have been there and done that with food businesses. So we averaged about every program averaged about 15 individuals, and we had a wonderful keynote speaker from the FDA who was the field supervisor for that area in Olathe. I think something that was excellent this year is just the overwhelmingly positive feedback. So we had every one of these programs, every time somebody came in, we surveyed them to make sure that we are bringing in the right folks. We had about 80% excellent responses, about 17% good, and just about 3% average. But what that tells us is that we had the right partners, we had the right presenters, the right resources. And then anecdotally, Londa was sharing an example of somebody that drove all the way out to Olathe from, was it Knox County? They were inspired enough from the conference. They're like, oh my gosh, how do I get more involved in the local food scene? What can I do? One thing led to another. They connected with their local farmers market. And if I'm not mistaken, that individual is now the market manager there at, so that's fantastic and kind of speaks to the reach and the importance of what we're doing. Another anecdote, I've been working with somebody starting up a shared kitchen facility and a food hub in Little Rock, Arkansas. They also made the trek up to Olathe to connect with the conference and the individuals there. And I've been working with them and helping them out through that process. And then too, just the number of those concept stage food businesses that have been connecting with the library and with me, and just hearing them say things like, oh, well, I learned this from the conference and this from the conference. Normally things that I have to sit down with these individuals and kind of set the stage for, like, hey, as you're starting a food business, maybe don't quit your day job just yet because you're going to have to put in a lot of capital to get this thing going. Or, hey, you should connect with these regulatory authorities early on. They came in, already had that information, already connected to those resources. So all of those stories were really encouraging. And the partners too, so pleased with the event that we are looking forward to, the 3rd annual Food Business Conference, early March next year. So please do keep an eye out for that. And please, you've got my contact information and the URL here. If you, or if there's somebody that, or an organization that you work with that you think makes sense to connect, maybe be a part of or present at that conference next year, please do let me know. Again, thank you so much, everybody.
Great. Thank you so much, Xander. I was just thinking as you were talking, I mean, I could talk for hours about Xander, but I always, it's to me, I when I tell other people like, oh, we worked with the library on this food business conference, and a lot of people are like, what, the library? And Xander will say, shouldn't every library be involved in like food business conferences? And so it's been for me, it's been a great experience working with the Mid-Continent. So Mid-Continent Public Library, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's kind of serves the suburbs of the Missouri side of Kansas City. I think I got that correct, Xander. So it kind of, so it's one of the public libraries in the Kansas City area, but they have the Square One business team that works with businesses wanting to get started and providing information to them. And then that kind of, I don't know if morph's the right word, ended up going into food businesses as well. So that's how, and now they have a food incubator at their library up in North Kansas City, so on the Missouri side of Kansas City. But they've been great, again, great partners in putting on this food business conference, and yeah, so bigger and better every year, I think, is the goal. And it was really a great experience in 2023, and yes, we're planning for next year too. So thank you so much, Xander. If anybody has questions for any of our 4 speakers, if you've thought of anything while the others were talking, feel free to, like I said, you can unmute yourself or put them in the chat. So if you have questions for Courtney or Sarah or Michelle or Xander, please feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. But if not, we'll keep going. And again, thank you to all of you for presenting, and their contact information is there. So if you want to reach out to them and ask questions, you can. But I think I'll go ahead, and it looks like we don't have any questions in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead, and I see Rebecca McMahon is here. So I'm going to now turn it over. So thanks again to all of our speakers so far. And so, as I mentioned, and again, those of you that have been on these calls every quarter have heard the saga of our K-State Extension Regional Food Systems Partnership Grant. And we were so thankful for all of you and your partnership, and we were awarded that grant. We got the call, or we got the notice back in October of 2022. Man, my years are getting all mixed up. But so we got the notice, and then now we're finally, we have a person on staff now for the grant. So we are really excited to be at this point. We've been, moving along little by little. And so Rebecca McMahon has applied for the job and was selected to be our grant program administrator. So she is the one that will be, doing the day-to-day work. Yeah, I agree, Xander. We're very thankful for Rebecca, and she's doing a great job already. She started on the 16th of April, so she's been in place for 10 days. So she's really doing a great job of helping oversee this grant and keeping local foods things within KSRE moving. So you'll be seeing a lot more of Rebecca in the future on these calls and other things as well. So I'm going to turn over to Rebecca now. She's going to share a little bit about the grant, so you can have an idea of what's been happening, and then how you all can be involved, and how we'd love to hear from you all. So I'll turn it over to Rebecca. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Londa. As Londa said, I'm Rebecca McMahon, and I know a lot of you already know me, and some of you don't. So just really briefly, I've been part of K-State Research and Extension for 15 years. I've been the horticulture agent for food crops in the Sedgwick County office for the last 15 years. And so I've been in this position with the grant for the last 2 weeks, and just really busy figuring out what to do first. So there's lots and lots of things to do. And so one of the things I see Clara has already dropped my email into the chat box is I'm just scheduling lots of meeting with lots of different existing partners and potential partners. So if you have an idea that you'd like to bounce off of me, or if you have something that you wish K-State would do to support local food systems, feel free to send me an email. We can get a meeting on the calendar and start collecting those ideas and seeing how we can move them forward. So if you could move to the next slide, Londa. So we don't have a lot of time today. I can't maybe fill quite as much time as Sarah can about the Farm Bill, but the big point of this whole grant is just to continue building new connections and partnerships. So we're going to be upgrading our local foods website through KSRE to hopefully make it more useful and more able to connect folks with resources and opportunities. These quarterly town halls are going to be continuing, and hopefully just continuing to make them bigger and better. Some things that all of you could really be looking forward to and helping with is we are hoping to start holding some community roundtables across the state with the goal of having those done sometime yet in this calendar year. So if you would like to be a host or a co-host or a partner or involved in a community roundtable in your part of the state, do drop me an email and I will start collecting that so we can start moving forward with planning those. And then we'll be looking at convening statewide local food summits in years 2 and 3 of the grant. So probably next year at some point. And then other parts of the grant, we have a workforce development fellowship program. So opportunities for organizations on the ground to be able to hire someone to jumpstart a project or move a project forward. So that'll be getting underway here shortly. And then just hopefully creating and curating resources to meet needs across the state. So again, if you have an idea that's been in the back of your mind, send it my direction. We'll see what we can make happen. Can you move to the next slide, Londa? And so I do want to make sure that we recognize we've got 3 key partners that are sub-awardees on this grant, the Kansas Food Action Network that we'll be working with on developing a statewide food and farm council, the Kansas Black Farmers Association. They will be hosting 2 of the fellows each year to help better serve the needs of our Black farmers across the state. And the Kansas Rural Center is going to be providing trainings for both farm to school and beginning farmers as part of this grant. So lots and lots of hopefully exciting things and opportunities that are happening, and lots of opportunities hopefully for all of you to get involved and benefit from this grant. So I think with that, Londa, I'm turning it back over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I appreciate it. Trying to remember what our next slide is. Oh, did you? Okay.
Oh, okay. I kind of talked about all of this, but
yeah, I think you just talked about it.
if you're interested in doing anything or have ideas, or have ideas of people that I should talk to, again, send those my direction and we'll see what we can make happen.
Great. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And yes, we'll, so as you can see, we're still kind of in the forming stages of all this, and we're, getting going. And every time somebody asks a question about it, I say, that's a great question. And that's something that we need to work through yet. So we appreciate questions as well, because it helps us to think through things like, oh yeah, we have to think about that detail. So appreciate everybody's input and questions and all that. So, again, really appreciate all your partnership. I know a lot of you wrote letters of support for the grant, so really appreciate that. And, really look forward to working with you on all of this. So, all right. So if you have any questions for Rebecca on the grant, please reach out to Rebecca. And now we're going to open it up. Does anybody else have any grants related things? And this kind of flows into the announcement section, but if you have any grant related updates you'd like to share, any other organizations or any other buddy on the call want to share anything about a grant that you've received or one you're working on, you're looking for partners for?
Ryan.
Great. I heard Ryan put something in the chat. Great. Thank you. No, it's okay. We're not used to 3 of us sitting in the conference room together doing this. Sorry. Great. Thank you, Ryan, for your update. I appreciate that. Anybody else have anything they want to share? All right, great. Well, if anybody, oh, another one popped in.
Just typed one.
Okay. Okay, great. Thanks. All right, so we will continue on then. If anybody wants to share anything, please do. Otherwise, we will go ahead and go on to the announcement section. And again, I'll share some KSRE announcements first, and then if anybody else has any other announcements, please feel free to share those as well. These are just different activities that I'm involved in personally, so I just went ahead and listed them here. And our FSMA, Food Safety Modernization Act, Produce Safety Grower Training. We have those. We'll have another one in August. I think we still got to finalize the dates, but we have this one scheduled for May for sure. And that's open, that's free for Kansas and Missouri growers. Thanks to our partners at Farmers Union. I see Mary Howell is on, and our partners at Kansas Department of Ag are very gracious in funding those trainings, so we can offer them for free because of all the great funding that we get from those our partners. We do if you know of anybody interested in getting GAP certified, there's a workshop on that as well. That's for produce growers. And then the last one there is worker protection standard. It's so pesticide safety. So Franny Miller and myself, and then Cal Jamerson, he was our produce safety extension associate, sorry. And then now he works specifically with WPS. So it's protecting workers that work with anything related to plants to make sure that they're not getting dangerous exposures to pesticides. So we have a number of online trainings, just an hour-long sessions coming up. So they're listed there. These are all available on our Produce Safety website. I didn't put that in the chat, but so that's available too. So, and there's lots of other extension events coming up. There's a list, there's our website there that has a number of different extension events coming up. So does anybody else have any other announcements, local food systems related events or announcements? Great. Tori, please go ahead, Tori.
Hi, Londa. This is Tori Laird with the Kansas Department of Agriculture. I've also got Brittany Grother here. We're hanging out, but I wanted to put in the chat, there is this new data set on local food systems that was just announced recently. And I wanted to make you guys aware of it. It's a one-stop shop for a lot of food access data that might be interest for your organizations.
Great. Thank you very much, Tori. I know I heard people in the room I'm in say, oh, good. So thank you. Nick, go ahead. And I know Suzanne, I think, wanted to make an announcement too, but Nick, you're next. And then Suzanne, you can go after that.
Hi, everybody. Nick Lewandowski at Kansas Farmers Union. Check out our new website, kansasfarmersunion.org, under the news and events section. We'll have some farm safety, food and farm safety and security tours coming up in May, middle of May and early June. We're working out all the details on those, but it's going to be kind of central and south central Kansas locations. So keep an eye out for those on our website, kansasfarmersunion.org, and then click on the news and events section. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Nick. Perfect. That sounds great. Suzanne, did you want to share something? Oh, you put it in the chat. Okay, sorry.
Yep, I just put it in the chat, and anybody can reach out. We'll be glad to help anyone.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate it. Eileen, please go ahead.
Everybody, I know many of you are state policy watchers, so I just wanted to alert you that the House Bill 2094, which is the one that added additional restrictions that would make it harder to enroll in SNAP. That one was passed by the House and the Senate, went to the governor. She vetoed it earlier this week, and it is up for a veto override today. So the legislature is back. So for those of you that can engage with your legislators, please do. Please reach out to them ASAP, like they're doing it like within hours. To let them know how important SNAP is to all the folks that you work with.
Thank you, Eileen. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's why it's important for all of us to work together. We all have different roles and different things that we can and can't do. So we appreciate everybody's partnership on that. Thank you. All right, great. Any other announcements anybody has or anything anybody wants to share? Well, I'll keep going through the slides here, and if you think of something, feel free to put it in the chat, or feel free to go ahead and shout it out as well. You're welcome to do that. So if you're thinking of any last minute things, we do appreciate you filling out our evaluation, and I bet Clara just put it in the chat now. So please fill that out. It really helps us to think through topics for next time, and it's great for our reporting purposes so that we can, we can hopefully get more funds to do projects that'll benefit everyone as well. So we really do appreciate your evaluation to help us make this even better. So our next local foods virtual town hall will be on July 26th. So that's the next quarter. So at 11 a.m. Central. I guess I should put daylight time, but anyway, so Central Daylight Time. So we'll still send out the Zoom link and so on as we've been doing, but if you do want to put this into a, on your website or whatever, then we ask that you don't put the Zoom link on your website because we don't want to get Zoom bombers, but so then we ask that you use that registration form so that we can, make sure that we don't have Zoom bombers coming in. So if you want to make sure that you get registered, you can do that. But like I said, we'll still send out the Zoom link and all that when we have it ready. So our slides are available. So the slides from this session will be available on our website and the recording will be available on the website. All of the speakers, I think, did graciously say they'd be willing to let us record. So if you want to review it afterwards or review the slides, you're welcome to do that. So all the slides from our past sessions and recordings from the past sessions are available there on that website as well. Let me see here. So there's our contact information for myself and for Rebecca. So if you want to contact one of us with any questions, please feel free to do so. Do we have any last minute questions or comments or anything in the chat? No. Okay. So if you do have any questions for anybody, please feel free to, or if you have any comments or announcements you want to share, please feel free.
Maddie does have some.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, Maddie, if you want to unmute yourself, you sure could. And thanks to all of you that have been putting information in the chat. Really appreciate it. So Maddie, I volunteer at a church that provides a food pantry and weekly hot meals for those in need in the community. Does anyone know of any programs or anything that could help us out in any way? And Maddie, which county are you in? That might be helpful too. Geary. Okay. So maybe a good start too would be, and I don't know if you've already done this, is checking with Deb Andrus in our Geary County Extension Office.
They're doing work with food pantries right now. They were.
Okay, yeah. So Erin said that she heard that Geary County, Deb Andrus at the Geary County Extension Office has been doing work with food pantries. So we do have some, so I work in food safety. So we have some food safety fact sheets on donating to food banks and food pantries, and then also blessing boxes. And we do have a food safety fact sheet on, I can't think of the right word, volunteer quantity cooks. So we do have, I know we have some food safety resources for sure, related to those topics. And so on the side of, other, just getting the food and so on, I think we can try to work with you and get some help on that too. So great question. Thank you for asking.
Is that a Harvesters County? All
right, great. Thank you so much. And Maddie, maybe you can put your email address in the chat and then we can make sure that we follow up with you afterwards as well. So if you can put your your contact information, then we'll make sure that we follow up with you. So great. Perfect. Great. Sounds like she put in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone. If anybody has any last minute questions or announcements that they'd like to make, please feel free. I know Carrie Ribard put something in the announcements at the beginning. So I don't know if Carrie is still on it. You can put that in again in case somebody missed it at the beginning. But anyway, we really do appreciate everybody's time. Thank you all for joining today. Thanks to all of our speakers. I thought it was another great, lots of helpful information. So hopefully you all benefited as well. And unless there's any other questions or announcements anybody wants to make, I think we'll wrap up a few minutes early here and you can move on to the rest of your day. So thanks again. We'll be back in July again with another session. So thanks everybody.